Yeah, what's up, guys? It's your boy Z. It's been a minute since I actually spoke with you. Yeah, my bad. We took a huge trip recently. It was in Calgary, and also we checked out Banff. We checked out Vancouver. Man, it was a banger. So the two cameras we decided to take out was my beloved A7S III.
And I recently just picked up the zv-e1.
Yeah.
Small, baby size, but you know, it's good for a starter, right? So
That's the thing, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie. One of the biggest things I asked him as soon as he got the camera, I'm like, dude, please make sure this thing doesn't fry. Because all I seen online was like overheating. I'm like, but one thing I do, before we go and jump into this, let's hit that intro and we'll come back. So that video you guys just watched, I don't know how many of you were able to tell the difference between the footages, because if you look on the spec sheet, these two cameras, like in all honesty, these two, this camera is literally an A7S III sensor without the heatsink. For some reason, Sony decided to cheap out on the heatsink part, but they gave us this powerful sensor. It's kind of sad, but it made me, I'm sad for it because I spent $4,000 on this camera. He spent
22, 23, something like that.
But he got the same exact camera as me. So part of me is like, okay, take the L. Part of me is also like, okay, maybe not take the L, but whatever. The footage for both of them are pretty dope. I mean, how'd you feel as a first-time user? Because remember, he hasn't done this before. So what was the user experience like for the ZV?
Yeah, so I guess I should start with so I've just been shooting off my camera, like a phone camera, my entire life.
Yeah.
I like doing a lot of like this cinematography stuff, but just very amateur, right? And yeah, so shooting with the iPhones, you know, whatever phone you're using, you can get a lot of really good footage, right? But now, like actually, when you pick up a pro camera, right, it's a whole nother world. Like, you know, the detail, just the cinematography of it, right? Just being able to get all that different color, it's really It's great, and it's really the natural next step up. So if you're someone that's maybe shooting content on your phone, and that's fine, but if you come to the point where you really want to level up, that's when you have to start investing and get one of these professional grade cameras.
But that's the crazy part, right? Before, when we used to level up, like my first camera was an 8-bit camera, the A7 III, right? I shot videos on that, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a nightmare. Okay? The greens, the yellows, yeah. But when you go from actual 8-bit camera to a 10-bit camera, you see the difference in how these cameras handle things. But going from an iPhone to this, it's like, it used to be that you had to spend thousands of dollars to get that kind of response, right? But right now you can spend, it's actually quite affordable. But let's get to the point on what I experienced was like. Obviously, when I used the camera on both of these cameras, and honestly, I can tell you, right off the bat, the picture quality, the exposure, and everything was phenomenal on both cameras. It's the same exact sensor. But I'll be able to tell you firsthand, we're gonna essentially, I would say, kind of debunk the idea of the overheating, because he put it through some stress tests. And when he told me that this was it, I was actually kind of sad. I'm like, yo, I actually should get the camera. Because if it could go through that, and by the way, Canada was pretty hot. We all got tan, we all got burned. And even through all that, the ZV kept on going. So you want to tell them about the indoor experience and the outdoor experience to kind of let people know that it's just...
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, when the camera first came out, a lot of you saw the videos that dropped the same day as soon as they announced it, and everyone was saying, oh, there's so many overheating issues, right?
Yeah.
So one of the main usages is you're in the studio, right? You're filming yourself, right? And that's really when you'll have like a more long form content kind of setup, right? Yeah. Versus when you're on the go, it's run and gun, you're taking maybe like minute long, just very short bursts of video, right?
Yeah.
So at home, so when I'm like, there was one time where I was using it as a webcam and I just kind of left it on,
yeah.
And it wasn't streaming, but it was on and it was still available, and I totally forgot about it. Yeah. And like I came back and checked it, and it was like maybe like an hour and a half afterwards, yeah. Still going fine, didn't shut off, nothing like that. So that just goes to show you that this thing is capable of not overheating, right? Given the different circumstances. So obviously it's indoors, it's a cooler environment.
Yeah, yeah.
So that definitely played a role. But then even during our trip, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going around, there was not a single time that it overheated the entire trip.
I can attest to that, honestly. That was the craziest part, that he had it the whole time, and I seen him use it. And it wasn't like one of those like A7SIII or whatever, where you're in a wedding and you're shooting for like 2-3 hours straight. You shoot it in bursts, and you can honestly make it last the entire day, no problem. I didn't see his thing overheating sign come on even once.
Yep. Yeah.
So only one thing I would say, right? If you're going from like an iPhone, like he went from an iPhone, and he uses a lot of fun gadgets. Insta360, I seen him use the most fun gadgets. When you see him open up his channel, you're gonna see he uses some of the most weirdest gadgets nobody ever touches, but he manages to make some good stuff out of that, right? So for us, it's very important to know that content creation doesn't have to be from like a $4,000 camera. You have to understand, like, you buy your gear based on the purpose you're gonna use it for. For instance, he's starting off, right? I told him it's kind of like when you buy a first motorcycle. You buy a 300C, and you know for a fact you ride it for 6 months, and you're gonna want a 650, 1200, whatever. It's kind of like that with the camera. We start off as something slow, but the thing is that you have to know the purpose of why you bought this camera. This camera, although these two things share the same sensor, they're used for different purposes. This is for something where because I do professional shoots, I do weddings, I do photography, and there are sometimes I go the entire day. Even he'll tell you on the trip, I banged out both of my batteries, not one, both, and I was empty at the end of the day, because that's how much I run through this A7S III. And the reason why I chose it is very different. So for instance, one of the biggest thing when I took his camera was, when I was recording it, was the screen back here. At first I'm like, you know what, maybe the brightness sucks, it's not sufficient. But then come to find out, he forgot to turn his brightness on. So we were running on a screen
we debunked that.
That. So everything is sufficient. It's just, for me, I look for specific things like shortcuts. I have the mode dial, 1, 2, 3. I have about 15 or 20 different custom buttons. Sometimes, for some people who do this for vlogging, like my friend Abe here, for him, it may not be necessary that he need to use all this right now. For me, if I go to a wedding, I need to make sure as soon as I turn on and I go to a mode dial 1 or 2, I need to make sure 24 frame rate, 60 frame rate, 120 frame rate. For me, it has to be run and gun and then a snap of a finger, and the exposure and everything has to be set correctly. For him, as a vlogger, you're not in a time constraint unless you're trying to catch some crazy sunset or whatever and you have a few seconds. It may be a little bit of trouble, but that's an exception. So, but in terms of getting content, and even some professional shoots, you can get away with it. But the thing is, there's a difference between doing it for fun and when somebody's paying you like $10,000 for their wedding. You can't, if your camera overheats that 1 out of 1,000 times,
it's a problem.
It's a problem. But if you're vlogging, you can always shut it off and you just start using your other gear. So that's my outlook on it.
For sure, for sure. Like what you just highlighted here is two different categories, right? Two different types of people. Like for me, when I look at a A7S3 or A7 IV, it's overwhelming, right? There's so many buttons, so many menus. Just how do I deal with all that? So somebody just coming off of a smartphone.
Yeah.
This thing is super simple, right? On top, it's just photo, video, and then S&Q, which is like time lapse essentially, right? And yeah, just touchscreen. It's very intuitive, just like you'd use on a phone. So yeah, coming from that, and then also like for me personally, just the size factor, the form factor, right? Just having something super light, small, right? I'm not like you were carrying around that whole gimbal. It was a workout.
Man.
Like we're hiking. We're also there on vacation, right?
Yeah.
We want to have fun. We want to like not like be straining our back, but like that's a big part of it too, right? So if you just want to run and gun, just shoot. And then another big thing for me with this camera was the active dynamic stabilization too, right? That thing is super solid. Like
when are they gonna give me that? Like, dude. Continue. Like
just to be able to shoot handheld and get decent footage, it's great. You don't need a whole rig, right? You don't need your Ronin or whatever, right? So
dude, you have no idea. Like, see, when I use that, right, the active stabilization, you gotta understand something, right? I was carrying this big ass thing, right? And I was carrying my RS3 Pro. I mean, luckily I'm somewhat physically fit. Oh, I'm being humble. I'm pretty physically fit.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So I was running up the damn hill trying to carry this thing, and I'm not gonna lie, it put my arms through some big strain. But
flex for the camera.
But the thing is just like, if I was just looking to have fun, I swear on everything.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with this one. I'm leaving my A7S3. I'm leaving my A7 IV. All these giant bricks at home, and I'm gonna get myself one of these because
you just get yourself a smaller prime lens, right? Like this is a 24mm.
Yeah.
And that's all you need, right? It's a small form factor. You can just either just have the camera itself just slinged around your shoulder, or if you want a small bag, just again slinged around your shoulder, you're set. You're good to go, and it doesn't feel like it's not cumbersome.
Like, honestly, to even put it simply, right? I mean, you guys watched the video earlier, and that was a banger video. Like, it took a lot of hard work from both cameras, and you can't even tell the difference because obviously, same sensor, same everything. But at the end of the day, you have to understand the purpose, and I'm gonna keep saying, I don't know how many of the other YouTubers mentioned this, right? Both cameras can do excellent work, get excellent footage. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what you're gonna do with that camera. If you're looking to do professional work, honestly, go with a minimum of an A7 IV or even an A7S3. And I have a lot more funny things to say about my A7 IV. That thing is also, it heats up too. The fact that it's not heating up right now, I'm just happy. But
you're doing a good job.
Good stuff, man. But it's honestly custom buttons. You have the this thing has some custom buttons too, but this thing has the ability to make your shoots be 1, 2, 3. You go out there, do the shoot, your client's happy, you get paid, you don't get a bad review, and you don't get sued when you come home for your photography.
Yep.
You want to look to have fun, and oh my God, everybody knows we go on these damn trips, and it's such a good time. Next time I'm on a carry, I might end up getting this because honestly, like, it's not like I can't waste any more money because I already bought a bunch of these things, but this thing is such a beauty. If I can get A7S3 quality in this quality in this, why the hell am I gonna carry this 10-pounder around?
Yeah, like I wish you guys could feel it. Like just hold this. This is not heavy at all. I think the camera itself is less than a pound or maybe 1.1 pounds. And then depending on the lens you get, like so obviously if you're getting a much larger lens, then maybe you go all out and just you just carry around a whole tank, right? But if you're gonna use a small lens with the small body, I think it really makes the most of this form factor.
In terms of physicality, I mean, I know he mentioned it earlier, like the A7S III, if you have a decent sized hand, like an adult's hand, the grip is the biggest difference between these things. Because if you grab this and then you pick that up, it's
Look at this
there
grip,
really isn't much to grab, dude.
this grip is tiny. Like half the time, I don't feel like I'm holding on to much here, and so like half the time I would just be kind of almost holding it by the lens itself and shooting that way, which is fine because you know some angles, you know, maybe you're doing your little crab walk or you're just doing a little pan, and it's fine with the dynamic active stabilization. It gets the job done, right? But if you really, you know, especially for photography, right?
Yeah.
This thing does not have an electronic viewfinder, so that's a no-go, right? If you want to do any type of photography, especially remember in the sunlight, we're complaining about the
He's like
screen
shooting
bright
blind.
lights.
He's like, where?
I was like, hey man, I can't see anything. Like, what's going on? You know? But yeah, so you just kind of point and shoot, and you hope you get what you wanted to get. But you know, with the viewfinder, of course, especially when you do photography, it's gonna help a lot. But yeah, I mean, that aside, you know, you guys know the differences. You know, you have 2 memory cards there. Again, a very professional grade feature. All the extra buttons, right? So all that stuff. So if you're in a more professional setting, by all means. I think the only downside to this, I know you're gonna say like, oh yeah, this is a cheaper camera than that, but still at the entry level, just for the body, I think but $2,300 for entry level, like somebody that's getting into it, I think is still kind of steep.
Yes,
right?
Yes, for sure.
Like let's say if I'm Joe Schmo that you know I shoot on my iPhone. Honestly, iPhone gets great quality video. You can have your family trips videos, like you'll be fine, right? The reason why I got this, because, you know, he's been in my ear for the longest time about, you need 10-bit color, you need 10-bit color, you have to shoot an S-Log. And I was like, all right, Rashid, all right, you know what, you know, let me dive in. And I mean, he's right, you know, like, you guys see his your color grading is phenomenal, right? You're gonna see, like, even just color right now, it's so nice. It's just so, like, pleasing on the eye. So that's what you get from that 10-bit color, and of course a little bit of genius from color grading. But with that being said, yeah, you can't really go wrong. You know, if the use case makes sense for you to get a smaller form factor, you know, zv-e1, solid, right? And then if you want to go, you know, go big and go home, you know, you have the A7S III, you have the A7 IV, and then, you know, you have your A lines, right? So you can go crazy with it. So you know, I think that pretty much summarizes a lot of what we experienced during the trip. And mind you, this is just our first trip, right? We're only gonna get better. And you saw this video that Rashid just put out, banger. It's amazing, right? And you know, when I put out my YouTube channel, you'll see, like, I love all these little gadgets, right? You know, we're talking about Insta360 Go, just using, like, you know, action cams and you know, like
some of the weirdest stuff that he brings out, man. Like, I'm in a trip, it's like he's a giant stick and he's carrying. I'm like, what the hell is that, man? Hey, it's an Insta this, Insta that. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, dude. Like, it's just, I just love it when these companies just think of so many different things. And like, I was using the Flow, also from Insta360, and it's a gimbal for your smartphone. And that's honestly, when you I'll put out a similar video to his, but, you know, more of a vlog style from our Banff trip, and you'll see, like, you can still get a lot of great footage. You can do a lot of good storytelling. You can put out great content, even, you know, without like a $4,000 or $5,000 rig, right? So it depends on what you're going for. Depends on what fits your niche, and yeah, you know.
Honestly, like, the biggest thing, I complained to one of my friends. Well, first it was him, then I complained to somebody else. How was it that this camera just came out? They got all these dynamic active stabilization and all this other crap, and then I'm still stuck with, I didn't get a firmware for 3 years. I had this camera. Sony, come on, man, like, release something, like, give some love to this camera.
They're not listening to
They're not listening to me. Yeah, I mean,
they don't care about you.
I'm pretty sure they don't.
You gotta go to Canon.
Oh, man.
Don't say that, right?
But now listen, all my Canon lovers, guys, stick to that. You know, us Sony lovers, we love this, and we'll stick to that. But in all honesty, if I could summarize all of this, my biggest complaint I would have about this thing is literally just not being able to customize to the extent that I have the S3 and the viewfinder. Because I sometimes, even though I use the viewfinder every now and then, it's still very important that it's there, because sometimes in certain situations when it's bright as hell outside, you can't see. You need the viewfinder to see. So, but those are very minor things to save almost $2,000. Like,
Is it 2,000?
Dude, with taxes and everything, man, Uncle Sam.
You don't have to pay taxes on it. Come on now, come on.
I would say honestly, like, when I go forward, God willing, I'm probably gonna get one of these cameras myself, because in the future I don't want to carry this thing. I'm probably gonna get myself a small rig and just go with that, because for me,
He's lying. He's gonna get a red. He's just gonna have it mounted to his back.
Yeah, it's like, oh guys, this is very portable. I'm gonna bring this. Hey, I might be lying, but still, you know. Summarizing, professional reasons: get the A7S3, get yourself an A7 IV. Every now and then, if you want to burn your hand with A7 IV, get that. But if you want to say, guys, I'm telling you, I'm shooting on the A7 IV and I have the A7S3. I love both cameras almost equally for different reasons, right? But if you want to professional, stick to one of these. Don't try to push a zv-e1 for professional reasons. You're gonna get fired, or you're gonna get like it's just not something I will recommend. And now other photographers, videographers.
Listen, you get what you pay for.
Yes.
All right. So if you're charging less for your photography,
if you want to do like a 2-minute burst video or like a reel for a restaurant, get yourself a ZV. You make some money out of that.
Yeah.
If you're looking for somebody,
you tell them in the contract, no guarantees.
No guarantees, no money back either. But if you're looking for a wedding, a birthday party, somebody's big moment, get yourself something a little, but build up to it. Don't start off with the A7S3. I started off with the A7 III. I used it for a year or two before I jumped onto this, because for me, I was getting pissed off using the color grading part, because color grading the S-Log 3 on these 10-bit cameras are way easier. It's just a few move the curve around, a little bit of white balance, and you're done.
Yeah, I just click auto, just auto.
This guy won't stay away from LUTs. Please don't sell him LUTs, you know? So
aren't you putting out a LUT package? What's going on, guys?
Buy mine. Yeah. Eventually, buy mine, guys. It'll make it easier. But, you know, I hope you guys enjoy the somewhat informative, formal, and informal, because for my channel, and you're gonna see when A puts it out, it's very important that we put out content in a way where it's gonna be fun. We're not just going out there just to like bang out content and just put a video so you guys we can regurgitate it, where you can usually Google. We're not looking to give you that. You can read up what the specs of the cameras are. It's the user experience we're gonna give you. Both of these cameras, they're very easy to use, especially the zv-e1. Go buy it. If you're gonna go have fun with friends, take one of these. But in terms of professionalism, stay away from ZV. Okay?
Not a professional.
Not yet. I'm gonna convince him eventually to. You're probably gonna end up by the A7S IV. I can guarantee you.
A7S4.
Yeah, when it comes out.
Ooh, all right. Now we talking. All right, Sony.
Sony,
now, if you listen,
please, and please give me some new features. Don't leave me hanging with the new one.
Don't give it to me.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoy. Stay safe. Z out. My boy.
Abe. See you guys on the next one.
Later, man.